If you guys will silence your cell phones and go ahead and take a seat, we're getting ready to start the meeting. All right, at 6:00 p.m., I'm going to call the council to order. Please rise for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, we come to you tonight thanking you for the day. We also thank you for the rain. We ask you to be with us tonight in the decisions we make. Help them to be good for the city and pleasing to you. These things we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. You may be seated. All right, I want to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. Thank you all for coming. I can't believe the first week of March is already gone. This month seems like it's just sailing by. The only announcement that I have, I guess we don't have our chief here, our fire chief, is we are having a push-in ceremony for our new fire engine, and that will be Friday, March 15 at 3 p.m. at the fire hall. So I hope everybody can come and attend that. We've got people that are going to be coming from all around the county just for this ceremony. Okay. Agenda item number 3, public comments. The first public comment I have is from Chuck Easley.
This is a letter that was given to me by a concerned citizen of Keene. It is not my words. Dear Mayor and Council, I was compelled to write to you my feelings as I do not come to the meetings, but I do watch them online when I'm able to. The first point I'd like to make is that even though our own city attorney is said that the meetings he has gone to has been a debacle, just him admitting it makes the council and mayor look ridiculous. In the meetings I've watched, it is very evident that not much is getting done. Our city is in a state of stagnation when this happens. Please do better. Point 2. I will say that I have to agree with Mr. Bells, Councilman Bells, in what he mentioned in the last meeting, the audacity to bring the city attorney to a meeting and attack. These are Bells' words, and make all his efforts seem effortless. It is clear that the mayor is has a problem with the document. The way the mayor went on about it showed very clear her disdain. How much are these lawyers costing us? How much sidewalk could be put in for the money being wasted? Point 3. In a council-run city, the mayor should have the knowledge of her limits. In all the meetings I've seen online, it is clear that the grandstanding, and for the lack of a better word, wanting to hear herself speak, needs to be reread the role of mayor. As the attorney mentioned to all of you, the document is done with checks and balances to protect all sides. Yes, clearly you have declared a side. Point 4. The mayor would like to address, Mayor, I'd like to address you for a moment. I would ask that you please see what I see for a moment. I've watched a self-centered, controlling, uninterested, boastful woman as a mayor. I would ask that you examine yourself, and refocus your efforts in supporting the council in the best way possible. Your council is and should be who you serve. As a leader, you are an example for the rest of the council, city staff, and especially to the citizens. You should have learned this as a teacher. You want to parade around in these meetings, join a circus. Find your focus and do the right thing for the citizens of this town. We all deserve better. Point 5. I want to address the citizens of this town. I want to encourage all of you to get involved. Community can flourish despite the setbacks that we have seen in the past year. It is imperative that we show support to those who have truly given their time to do what is right for the city. In a short time, we will be voting again. Remember which council person is doing what. So when it comes time to cast your vote for the next elections, you have a clear path. And lastly, my prayers for this city is to thrive and continue to progress. Concerned citizen of Keene.
Thank you, Mr. Easley.
Thank you.
We have Kara Wimberly. If you would like to come forward.
So basically, I bought property in the ETJ of Keene.
If you could go ahead and just state your name and your address for the record.
My name's Kara Wimberly. My address is 4416 County Road 317.
Okay, thank you.
And,
Is that my young lady? I'm sorry.
is it on?
I believe it is.
Yeah, I hear a big echo. I mean, I can hear it.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I can lean in. Basically, 5 years ago, I purchased this property, and a few months into it, someone insisted that part of my property was a road. And I tried to get open records requests. Nothing ever came of it. And finally, this year, I went ahead and forwarded it to the Attorney General, since, 5 years, just constantly, the city would point at the county, and the county would point at the city, and no one would take any responsibility for it. And finally, this year, I did get something. So basically, the Attorney General sent a letter to Tabitha Manswell on January 16th. And I think they gave 10 days. Yes. Please provide a written response to this letter within 10 business days. And since I hadn't heard back from the Attorney General, I'm just assuming that it hasn't been done. And so I was just going to look into that. So that's
Okay.
all I've got.
Carol, I'll have you follow up, with the city manager, and we'll find out about that request.
Okay.
And make-
Feel free to come by anytime, and we will we'll have your information from the speaker card. We'll follow up with you on that. I'm not sure the status of it. I'm
Thanks.
not aware of any pending open requests that have been open for a while, but we'll get that information for you.
No, right now the Attorney General's waiting on Tabitha Manswell to answer. Okay.
We've been shorthanded, and we just now got a new secretary, so
Right.
Okay.
it should be coming up.
Mr. Johnson, you need to get the chair to address you before you speak.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kara. Okay, that's all I have for public comments. Moving on to agenda item number 4, reports. Receive a report and hold a discussion regarding the city manager's report.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Just have a couple things. I know we have a big agenda tonight, so I will be brief. I wanted to follow up with you about our charter review from the attorney. You had asked that Mr. Chesser look at that review and identify some of the low-hanging fruits, some of the different things that needed to be changed in that. He's almost completed with that, and he does expect to have that by next council meeting. So that will be coming back forward soon with the review of that. A couple things. We have our new code enforcement officer starting Monday. And in regards to our impact fees that we have been pursuing, the advisory committee, which is the planning and zoning plus a few additional, we have to have the whole committee together because we have to have all that representation. We could not get the entire committee together at this next P&Z meeting, so we're going to push that a week later to a special called meeting, and we're trying to get that committee together as soon as possible to review our land use assumptions in pursuit of the impact fee. So we're working towards that.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Batla? All right, thank you, Mr. Batla.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 5, public hearing items. hold a public hearing on a replat request for a variance to subdivision requirements contained in the City of Keene subdivision ordinance section 156.091 for a replat for a single-family residential development located in the Valverde Villa addition. And I believe Mr. Martin is going to present to this.
I can get the button to go the right way. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a Valverde Villa plat that we've discussed before. So the Palomaros purchased this property in 2016. They contacted us in 2022 and inquired about building on this land. The land was originally one lot, when first platted in 1989, according to this map here, and it's kind of on the far left side. About a quarter of the way up, it'll say lot number 5. And it shows a street, Wisteria Lane, going in. That street was never put in when this subdivision was built. It was then replatted in 2003 into 8 lots. However, the streets or infrastructure were never done. After discussing their options, they decided to build just one home on a single platted lot. So this is my eyes aren't that great. I believe that's the new plat. Let me walk over there. That's the one from 2003 where it was replatted into 8 lots, and it shows a turnaround in a cul-de-sac again, which was never done. Now, this is what their current plat is going to look like. So we're just taking that and putting it into just one lot to build one single-family home. So the Planning and Zoning Commission held a meeting on January 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. They voted unanimously to approve the replat as submitted with corrections which have been done and are shown on this current plat. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the replat. And in your packet, you should have the planning application, the replat, which is this one, the original plat, the plat from 2003, and the notice that was published in the paper, the most recent one. Because we have to ask for a variance on not having a cul-de-sac there at the very end, and you should have in front of you a email from Mr. Ed Cheever, our fire marshal. After that last meeting we had, we all sat down, the city manager, myself, the fire chief, the fire marshal, our planner, Eric Wilhite, and the Palomaros, and had a discussion about what needs to be done. They showed their current plans of where they're gonna put their house, in location to the lot. And the fire department agreed that that would be acceptable for them. And that's kind of what this email that Mr. Cheever just sent, saying that they will grant the exception to the fire code of not having a cul-de-sac as long as they don't build any structures so far back in the lot to where if they were to park at the front of their lot, they wouldn't be able to reach with their 150-foot hose. So that's kind of the lot there. If you took the whole lot that they're gonna have, and you can see the kind of circles is where those cul-de-sacs were going to be, and then that is in relation to where they're gonna build their house. So the way Mr. Cheever explained it, as long as they don't build anything in that far east corner or that far north corner, any structures, they'll be fine, and they will grant the exception. And the Palomaros are here if you have any questions for them.
So the last time we were here, we discussed the fact of the cul-de-sac, and it was mentioned that that part belonged to the city. Did we ever?
No, we checked with both of our attorneys, and if you look at the plat on 2003, the proper dedicatory language is not in there. It just says dedicated right-of-way, but in the language of the plat, Like on the new plat, it should say, all roads, right-of-ways are hereby dedicated to the city of Keene. And that plat that was done in 2003 never had that dedicatory language. So technically, that land was never dedicated to the city properly. And the Palomares have been paying taxes on the whole 1.11 acres ever since they purchased it.
Okay. Would the applicants like to say anything at this time before I open the public hearing?
Thank you. I appreciate the
Hi.
time that you guys have taken on this. It has been a journey. I know we have been gone, absent, out of the state and so on, and we've made it a little difficult on Dawn, back and forth, emails and so on. But we would like to proceed and go forward. I understand that there's rules and regulations that have to be done, but like I had told Dawn and the gentleman and everybody that was at the meeting, honestly, we just want to be part of the community. You know, we really do. I grew up here in Keene. My kids went to school in Keene, and I love it. We've got grandkids, and we just want to be able to have our grandchildren enjoy what I enjoyed. So, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it is 6:17 PM. It just changed on me. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak? Mr. Schramm?
West Schramm, 1002 West 4th Street in Keene. Normally, I would be opposed to something like this, having a house at a dead-end street, but we already have started that years ago with Pine Street. We've got a residence up there, and they even keep a gate locked all the time and don't even want the fire department in that gate. I know that's a separate item, but this is similar. This is a small road, which would be a dead-end road for the fire department. And if they have to get more than one apparatus in there, I would be concerned about them being able to get in. But the fire department has looked at this, and if they're good with it, I guess we'll say, welcome to Keene.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schramm. Anybody else from the public that would like to speak? All right, at 6:18 PM, I'm going to close the public hearing. Council, if you'll look at your agenda item under number 5, it says, following the public hearing, the city council may approve a replat, including a variance to the subdivision requirements contained in the City of Keene subdivision ordinance, section 156.091, for a single-family residential development located in the Valverde Villa addition. Council, just to let you know, Mr. Wilhite did contact me today at Mr. Batla's request. He was going to come here to the meeting tonight, but he had another engagement and couldn't. He was asking me if we could make this motion with the caveat that the fire marshal will determine any emergency access turnaround design necessary at the building permit submittal stage, just to make sure that that is compliance. I do have the letter that Mr. Martin was referring to, which you did, so I don't know if that counters what Mr. Wilhite's suggestion was. This email, I'll just read it for the public. It just says, this is coming from the Fire Marshal of Keene. After reviewing the materials that you sent me and discussing the situation with Chief Warner, I believe the International Fire Code 2018 edition, as adopted by the City of Keene, allows the fire code official to provide special approval for variances to the requirements of the code in select areas. Based on this, I am giving special approval for a driveway meeting the requirements of a fire department access road as set forth in IFC 2018, Section 503, IFC 2018, Appendix D, and adopted amendments to be installed and used at this location without the required turnaround, although in excess of 500 feet, provided the following. Number 1, there may be only one R3 and 2 U structures built or installed on the property. And number 2, no portion of any structure may be built or located within 80 feet of the eastmost property line. I'm thinking maybe we could go ahead and just make the motion and then go ahead and just add in that the fire marshal's instructions be carried out or something, with the caveat that at the building permits submittal stage, these instructions are followed, if that's what you guys would agree with. What do y'all think?
What was that second letter that you read, not from the fire marshal, but the other
Okay,
one?
Mr. Wilhite, what he
Yeah.
read? Okay, what he told me, and he gave me this verbiage exactly, he told me to have council, if they decide to approve this, to make the motion, and then end it with the caveat that the fire marshal will determine any emergency access turnaround design necessary at the building permit submittal stage.
Well, I see this as an unknown for the builder. What if after they get their place built, then they require them to do some big turnaround that a fire truck can turn around in?
Yeah, Mr. Wilhite said that since we don't have the plans yet for the building permit, we don't know exactly where the placement of the structure is gonna be. And I guess that would determine what kind of turnaround we might
Mayor.
require. Yes, sir?
Usually in the building process, I think what he's referring to
Okay.
at the building permit, which is before any building is done.
Okay.
So they're going to submit their plans, and what I think Mr. Wilhite is talking about is make changes in their plans at that time. I'm sure the city and Don will work with them to help them make those changes.
Okay, do you think we need to add anything to the motion then? Or would you just
Well, I
leave it
think the
as
fire
is?
marshal has signed off on it pretty well, but we need to add to the motion that it needs to be determined at the time of the permitting, the building permit, like he said in his letter.
Okay,
Wilhite.
y'all agree? Okay.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So this recommendation from the fire marshal, was it relayed to the property owner? Are they okay with it?
Have you guys seen that letter? Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, council, if you want to make a motion, if somebody's got that wording.
I thought Bells had made the motion.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the request for variance to subdivision requirements contained in the City of Keene subdivision ordinance, Section 156-091, for replat for a single-family residence development located in the Val Verde Villa addition. And the caveat will be agreement by the homeowners to, let's see how we say this, work with the fire marshal in the building permit timeframe.
Second.
And the building permit, what
Process.
stage?
With the building permit official.
Official.
I have a question.
Okay, hold on just a second, let me call it. We have a motion on the floor by Bells and a second by Easley. As just stated. Any further questions on the motion? Now,
I have a
Mr.
question, Mayor. You know, we pay these professionals a lot of money, and the verbiage you just put in, it's good, work with the fire marshal, which might be vague. You have been given a verbiage here that you should be able to use. Remember, we pay these professionals to be able to foresee things that might be a loophole or something that might be a headache down the line. So I'm not disagreeing with your motion, but will it be prudent to use the caveat statement as stated by the professionals that we are paid?
Okay, let me restate the motion to make sure we're clear. A motion on the floor by Bells and a second by Easley to approve the request for a variance to subdivision requirements contained in the City of Keene subdivision ordinance, Section 156.091, for a replat for a single-family residential development located in the Val Verde Villa addition with the caveat agreement that the homeowners work with the fire marshal and the building permit official. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous, motion is carried.
Welcome to Keene.
Thank you, welcome to Keene. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 6, consent agenda. All items listed below have been previously discussed, require no deliberation, and are routine by the city council, and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of the items. So we are here under the consent to have A, consider approval of city council minutes dated February 15, 2024, and B, consider approval of resolution number 2024-438 to add Holly Russell and Tiffany McDaniel as authorized signatories to all the City of Keene accounts at Pinnacle Bank. And did we want to make any changes to that number B, Mr. Batla? We were discussing that earlier.
Yes, yeah, I guess I could speak to B. My understanding, we added this for some redundancy's sake at City Hall to have a few additional signers for the checks. Should I be absent, or, for example, HR to be able to sign payroll? I'm under the understanding that council may be hesitant to have more than 2 city staff, so I don't have a strong opinion on this either way. So,
Why don't we pull this item out for a discussion then, for just a minute then? Council, do you have anybody want to pull out item number A for a discussion? Or make a motion to approve the consent agenda with just A?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by staff.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda as presented by staff by Foster and a second by Beeson. All in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? Were you opposed?
Yeah, regarding point
We're
B.
just doing the consent for A.
Oh, consent for A.
Okay.
I vote
It's
for it.
unanimous, motion is carried. Okay, now we're going to pull out what's under agenda item number 6B and discuss the resolution to add Holly Russell and Tiffany McDaniel. Mr. Battle and I were discussing this earlier today. Typically, in the past, we've had 2 staff and 2 elected officials be signatories on our Pinnacle Bank accounts. By adding Tiffany and Holly, we also have Mr. Batla and we also have Don Martin. So that kind of gives us 4 staff and 2 elected officials. So we wanted to have the discussion as to whether or not you want to continue that, have 4, or whether or not we want to remove somebody and add them, who you want on there and who you don't. Council, do you have any thoughts on that, on who you'd like as the 2 staff officials, or if you're okay with 4 staff officials?
I have a question.
Okay?
Has it been an issue in the past of not being able to get the city staff signatures?
it has, there's been, well, with turnover, there's been some issues, and then when you have someone on vacation or sick, occasionally, when both of those happen at the same time, then we're really running short. So that
Okay.
was part of the thought process on this, but again, whatever council is comfortable with. Once whoever the staff is signed, it still has to come to the mayor or pro tem for the second signature. And
Yes.
it's kind of the check and balance.
Checks and balances. Yeah, thank you.
What do you think? How do you feel? Do you feel like you need to pick somebody, or do we have to do it?
That redundancy is convenient, but if council isn't comfortable with that, then there's no reason, pushing that. I don't care either way.
I think it's okay with me. I mean, I don't see a problem with it.
May I have a question here?
Go ahead.
In the past, we have had an incident whereby a staff did sign a check, and then the taxpayers really got concerned about that and the oversight. So I think if we have 2 council members, Mayor Pro Tem and the mayor, and also have the city manager and one of the staff, I think that will be reasonable enough instead of having more than 2 staff members, like having 3, based on the history, according to how we have been able to handle signature signing with any city kind of processes that we normally go through. So I think having 2 will be reasonable. But having the 3rd one, you're just opening, the chances are the 3rd person might be able to sign something, and the mayor pro tem or the mayor might think everything has been checked out, you're on vacation, and then we run into the same situation we had last time, when we have an ATV situation.
Okay, but what he's saying, did you not understand what he said? Some
Uh,
of the guys,
yes.
the turnover we have here, okay, the turnover that we have here, not always gonna be able to have somebody to do it. I say leave it like it is myself, with the four, what does it matter? Does it hurt? It don't hurt, it ain't hurting, it ain't killing us. I think it's fair if they do what they
Okay,
want to do.
Mr. Johnson, just so you know, we adopted last week rules of order and procedure, and one of them is that you need to get permission from the presiding officer before you speak. Mr. Gutwa had the floor, so just make sure that we're not interrupting
Did I
each
not
other.
speak when after he was done?
You have to get my consent to speak. You have to get my, you've got to get my, yes, sir.
Okay, Mayor, I don't disagree with Mayor Pro Tem Ray Johnson. What I'm saying is when you have a lot of signatories, the chances of making a mistake goes up. That's why you have 2 council members just as an oversight, and you have the city manager and the city secretary. Yes, the turnover is an issue for every city, but having too many, people to sign might not be a big deal, might be a very good thing, but it just opens up an option where we might make a mistake, for that kind of oversight issue that we had last time.
Mayor?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Foster.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-438 to add Holly Russell and Tiffany McDaniel as authorized signatories to all the City of Keene accounts at Pinnacle Bank.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve resolution number 2024-438 to add Holly Russell and Tiffany McDaniel as authorized signatories to all City of Keene accounts at Pinnacle Bank by Foster, and a second by Beeson. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion is carried. Gutwa against. Council, we're getting ready to begin agenda item number 7. We have several discussion items on here. A request was made by Mr. Batla. We have a couple of guests here that are here to speak to agenda items number 7H and 7I. And we would like to move those to the top of the general discussion items. So council, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion is carried. All right, we're moving on to agenda item number 7H. Discuss, consider, and take action on a resolution reaffirming or adopting policies related to the city's CDBG grant. See if I can get that right. Okay, Jake, are you going to speak to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jake McAdams with Public Management. If y'all are unaware, the city has recently received a $500,000 CDBG grant from the Texas Department of Agriculture. The city actually just completed, it's been a few months, but the recoating of the water tower, okay, that was a CDBG grant. The City of Keene has historically been very successful in this program, and y'all just received another grant through this program. These 2 items are the standard housekeeping startup activities that accompany each of these CDBG grants. The first item is adoption of this resolution to reaffirm certain policies. Those are spelled out on the second page of the resolution, and I believe should be attached to the resolution. As you will note, the resolution states to reaffirm these policies. These policies are in fact in existence currently in the City of Keene's policies, but the program does have a requirement to take this resolution to council with each new grant to receive a reaffirmation resolution. If council has any questions about this item, I would like to address those.
Any questions for Mr. McAdams? Yes, sir.
I'd just like to thank you for all your diligent work on this. It's been just want to recognize you for all the work that your team has done on these and several future grants that we're working on. And to that end, with this CDBG grant, I mean, this is all good stuff. You see agenda item A and B, and things are really moving with this. So this is really good for the city of Keene. Good news.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Yeah, I want to thank you as well. I thanked you before the meeting, but you do a great job. We appreciate it. Just get us a few more, and we'll be even happier. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution reaffirming adopting policies related to the city's CDBG grant.
We have a motion on the floor to approve a resolution reaffirming or adopting the policies related to the city's CDBG grant by Foster, and a second by Johnson. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. Motion is carried. If you want to just stay there for a minute. All right, agenda item number 7I. Discuss and consider Section 3 policy information for the city's Texas CDBG contract number CDV23-0359.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The resolution that was just adopted, there were certain policies that were to be reaffirmed. Below that was another couple lines saying that the city agrees to comply with these other program policies, one of which being the Section 3 policy accompanying this program. The CDBG grants have always had a Section 3 policy requirement. The Section 3 policy relates to an effort to encourage historically underutilized and lower income businesses and individuals to bid on the project, to participate in the activity that is being funded by the CDBG program. Years ago, we actually had a Section 3 policy that kind of enshrined that. What happened a few years ago, HUD, who is the federal administration overseeing these funds, revised the Section 3 policy. Whereas the city does not have to adopt a policy but complies with it, and there's a little bit extra requirements. Basically, they now require the city at the end of the grant to report all hours worked by everybody that has participated on this specific program, okay, excluding the engineers. What that means is that any city representatives and staff that spend time on this project, grant administrators that spend time on this project, contractors, the office staff of a contractor that spends time on this project have to report the hours spent and also whether or not they are Section 3 or not individuals. All this is a reporting requirement and encouragement for the city to try and encourage lower income, historically underutilized businesses to participate. This item that we're on right now requires no action. It is simply to deliver a presentation of the Section 3 requirements. Again, I am here because this presentation is a requirement of this grant award. If y'all have any questions about Section 3 requirements or the policy or the grant in general, I'd be happy to try and address those.
And go ahead, Mr. Foster.
Just wondering if you have a list of those businesses who would qualify for this, or how are we supposed to find candidates, if you will?
Thank you. That's a great question. So part of our role and scope as the grant administrator is to assist the city with Section 3 compliance and procurement compliance. So what will happen whenever we finish design, it's still going to be several months before we complete environmental review, we finish design. It's going to be a few months before we bid it out. But whenever we get to that point, we will coordinate with the engineer and the city to send the bid advertisement to minority and disadvantaged cooperative bid boards all right? There's about 5 or 6 that we send this to throughout the state. There's also a running list of qualified vendors that we will send the bid ad to encourage that solicitation. Whenever a contractor is brought in, we have a similar conversation with them at the pre-construction meeting related to any subs, as well as any new positions they create for this project.
Now, do we have to have a certain percentage of, okay, so if none of those are the lowest bid, then we're free just to use whoever is the lowest bid? Okay, thank you.
There is a federal target, but there is not a hard percentage requirement. This is just an effort and reporting requirement for the city.
Well, will they help us out then in keeping track of the hours worked? And so part of that will be their responsibility.
Yes, ma'am. That is part of our scope. In practice, how this will work is I will check in with the staff, city staff, periodically and request an approximation of who and about how many hours has been spent on this project over the last period of time. Again, engineers and surveyors are exempt from this requirement, but I will do the same thing with the construction contractor, whoever that may be, once they come on.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you for
all
coming.
very much. Have a great night.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to return to agenda item number 7A. Discuss and take possible action awarding a contract to Iron Wolf Construction Company in the amount of $234,047.04 using the ARPA funds for the Pleasant Meadow Waterline Project. Mr. Martin,
Hello again.
you're up.
Last year, we went through the ARPA funds and council approved using a portion of that for sewer and water projects along with the generator project as well. So this is kind of the process. Our engineers designed this. So we've been experiencing low water pressure issues on County Road 317 and other areas downstream of that. Council approved using ARPA funds for this project. We will be installing about 1,980 linear feet of 8-inch PVC water line with gate valves, 2 fire hydrants, and all associated apparatuses. Our engineers designed these upgrades and we received 14 bids for this project. Bid totals range from $191,593 and $724,683. The lowest bidder withdrew their bid because of some material errors. The second lowest bidder was Iron Wolf Construction Company in the amount of $234,047.04. These upgrades will bring us closer to achieving a better quality of water for our customers in those areas, and we will be using ARPA funds to entirely fund this project. Staff and engineers recommend awarding the contract to Iron Wolf Construction Company in that amount of $234,047.04. And in your bid packet, you should have the bid tab sheet showing all the bidders, the supplied bids, and what their range was, and then a recommendation letter from our engineering firm, Jacob and Martin, as to this contract. This kind of shows the area of where the water line's gonna go. That's Pleasant Meadows Mobile Home Park, so at the top or the north of that page is we're gonna tie into the existing water line that runs along 67. Run that 8-inch water line down along the property line, in through the mobile home park and all the way across the street to County Road 317. Because right now that water line on 317 is being fed from Santa Fe Street and Eastern Street, which is a long ways away. So this is gonna help bring better quality and better water pressure to all of those areas to the south of that as well.
How many lots are there that this is affecting?
In the mobile home park,
Mm-hmm.
do you remember?
Okay.
Right. 67 lots inside the mobile home park, but it's gonna affect and help over 200 connections.
200, okay. We seem to have gotten a lot of bids on this project. I know in the past, we haven't always received 14. Do you know why we got more this time? Are we advertising better?
No, they're what they normally do. And they were both kind of put out together, the water and the sewer project. I was kind of shocked too, and I walked
We
into
don't,
the room
yeah,
and
we
it
usually
was
get, what,
14
3 to 5, and we don't usually get
contractors there.
14.
But then you see the sewer side, when we went to the sewer project, more than half the room left, so, I don't know. Maybe there's more water construction companies out there now, utility companies. And sewer's a lot more difficult to deal with.
All right, council?
I guess there's just no, I always kind of look at the median numbers here. When, on something like this, I'll toss out the top and the bottom and look at what, and most of them in the middle are in around the 350, 3 to 350 area.
Mhm.
You're comfortable with this 234 number? I know that Jacob and Martin are, but I mean, in your experience, we're good?
Yes.
Okay. As long as you're good, buddy, I'll make a motion to approve awarding a contract to Iron Wolf Construction Company in the amount of $234,047.04 using the ARPA funds for the Pleasant Meadows Waterline Project.
Second.
Who seconded it? Easily?
Go ahead, both of us. Tie.
We'll give it to you. It was a tie.
Go ahead.
Easily.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve awarding a contract to Iron Wolf Construction Company in the amount of $234,047.04 using the ARPA funds for the Pleasant Meadows Waterline Project by Foster, and a second by Easley. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. Motion is carried. Agenda item number 7B, discuss and take possible action on awarding a contract to J. Macias Industries Limited Liability Company in the amount of $160,675 using the ARPA funds for the Old Betsy Sewer Line Project. Mr.
Mayor and
Martin?
Council, again, thank you. We have been working on upgrading our sewer infrastructure using the CIP plan. Council approved using ARPA funds for this project, along with some leftover funds from the Lewis Lane Sewer Project. This is an old clay line that has had some issues lately. Our engineers designed these upgrades, and we received 7 bids for this project. Combined bid totals, base bid and the additive alternatives, range from $160,675 to a high of $603,250. The lowest bidder was J. Macias Industries LLC in the amount of $160,675. These upgrades will bring us closer to upgrading some of our older sewer infrastructure. We will be using ARPA funds and some proceeds from the Lewis Lane Sewer Project to fund this project. Staff and our engineers recommend awarding the contract to J. Macias Industries LLC in the amount of $160,675. And as in the last one, you see there's the bid tab sheet and the letter of recommendation from Jacob and Martin. And I believe we have around $80,000 left over from the Lewis Lane project, sewer project, that could go towards this as well. And this is a map showing where that sewer line improvements are needed to be done. And basically, it starts in the driveway there of Mr. Booger Putnam's driveway, where we finished that Lewis Lane sewer line stopped right there at his driveway. Now we're continuing replacing that old clay line to the north along in front of the duck pond, right to where it crosses under Old Betsy and goes back towards the park. Yes, sir.
Don, will this be underground, above ground, or both?
We're gonna do the majority of it pipe bursting. That way it's not, the
Disturbing.
good thing about it is there's no connections once you cross and leave Booger Putman's driveway. It's all just, there's no houses connected to it, so there won't be a lot of tearing up of the park property or the university property. They should be able to just pipe burst it and go right along, as, you know, if everything goes well. But that was kind of the plan. We've discussed that with the university already. We obviously don't want to make big holes and trenches and tearing things up while we're doing that.
Any other questions for Mr. Martin? Go ahead, Mr. Schramm. Counsel, do you want to let him speak without a yellow card?
Sure.
Thank you. West Shram, 1002 West Fourth Street, again. The question I have would be, are these bonded contracts? And because if they're pretty low, what happens if these people cannot finish their work?
That is a good question, but yes, all of the contracts we do of this nature will have a maintenance or performance bond during the process and a 2-year maintenance bond once the process is completed.
Mayor? Just out of curiosity, Mr. Martin, what are the purple lines perpendicular to the line there in the picture?
I think that's the areas of how, like, they may have to dig a hole, pipe burst to that point, and then dig a hole and pipe burst to that next point.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I think in Jacob Martin's letter to address Mr. Schramm, they say we have completed previous projects with this company. So they have experience with them. I think I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Okay. I'm ready if council wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to approve awarding a contract to did you pronounce it, Mayor, as Macias?
Okay.
Okay, Industries LLC in the amount of $160,675 using the ARPA funds for the Old Betsy Sewer Line project.
We have a motion on the floor to approve awarding a contract to J. Macias Industries Limited Liability Company in the amount of $160,000 and $160,675, let me get that right, using the ARPA funds for the Old Betsy Sewer Line project by Bells and a second by Foster. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 7C, discuss, give direction to staff, and take possible action on reducing the threshold for multiple bid requirements to $25,000.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will turn this over to Councilman Johnson. This was one of his items. I'll give you a little background. Our current guidelines state that anything city council approval is required for the award of contracts for all goods, purchases for goods and services over $50,000. Some reasons for that is, for example, you could have a situation where you need to do a street repair that may go over that, and you'd have to take it to council before you were able to act on that, even if it was in budget. So we're currently following the state guidelines, Chapter 271, Texas Local Government Code, but I will turn it over to Councilman Johnson.
From experience, we've been bidding out. We've been letting these people bid jobs here. One people don't bid and nobody else getting a chance. $50,000 is a lot of money. You can sit here and say the streets, fire department, we just spent all this money. Where all this money's gonna come from? That you're saying that $25,000 is not right. $50,000 is a lot of money.
Well, most of this would be budgeted items. I mean, there would be certain emergencies, but we would be going for things in budget.
Well, I'll let council think about it too. I think 25 is fair to me. If it was me, that's what I'd have it said.
Any other council want to speak to this? So he's wanting to make this more restrictive. So the state's requiring us to come back to council for anything that we're going to purchase at $50,000. He wants to make it more restrictive to where council has to make any decisions if it's at $25,000 at that threshold.
Mayor, may I?
Well,
Go ahead, Ms. Beeson.
I think if, we have confidence in our department heads, and with Mr. Batla's overseeing this, don't see them ordering something that's not in the budget. And I don't know, $25,000 is a lot of money, but when you start talking about equipment or something that they might need to do their job, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable lowering it to 25.
That's fine, but like the park over here, we paid somebody to do tree work for $30,000. Ask this gentleman sitting right here what he thought about it. City manager, $30,000 what we spend. What do you think about it? What did you tell me about it?
Well, let me go over the policy here. So one of our policies is that when a department director requires expenditures between $5,001 to $50,000, that we try to obtain at least 3 quotes. I wasn't here during the park, during that whole thing. So I don't know the history on that. I mean, I think it's a lot of trees. I think it's a lot of money. But that's in the past. But yeah, I just want to make sure we're following our policy. But I thought it's important to point that out, that we are required to try and seek multiple bids or cooperative purchasing agreements, something like that.
Well, sometimes people don't want to do jobs, so they bid them high, thinking that, somebody else will get the job. And unfortunately, however you want to look at it, there was only one bidder on this job. So we could have been 25,000, it could have been 10,000 on this. It would not have made any difference. So I say we leave it at 50. Like Councilman Beeson mentioned, if we have confidence in our city manager and our department heads, then I say 50,000 is well within, I don't want everything brought to us for us to have to make a decision on everything that's over $25,000. That's going to take up a lot of time, the city's time right there, even though I know we're not paid by the hour, but still.
Mr. Easley, would you like to weigh in, whether you're for or against this? No. You're just listening? Okay. Because at this point, we can make a motion to approve it. We can just give direction to staff to leave it as is, and we don't have to make a motion at all. So if we have a consensus to just leave it as is, we can direct Mr. Batla to just leave it at 50,000. So right now, I have Foster and Beeson that I believe are saying leave it at 50,000.
Okay.
And
May I-
not take any action. Mr. Gua?
May I-
Or you can do a motion to deny if you feel, yes.
Okay, may I have
Go ahead.
a suggestion here? I understand where Councilmember Ray Johnson is coming from. I think there might be a reason. We might say it's not a big deal, $25,000 or $10,000, or we might run into one bidder as a reason, or it's too much work, and say, let's just let $25,000 go without coming before the council. A very good example, we have had some few projects here in the city where we'll look at a project and say this might cost $50,000. We don't want to go through a bid. Let's put it at $25,000, the first phase, and then 6 months down the line, we are back again, $25,000. That's $50,000 that could have gone through a bid. And there's a reason for that. Why we have $50,000 taxpayers' money has to go through a bidding process to be able to safeguard the taxpayer from exploitation, from, I know we have confidence in our city staff. I'm not saying that our city staff will come and just give one person a contract over and over, or try to go through a loophole of not going through bidding by breaking a big project into small portion, less than $50,000 to go so that they don't come before the council. So I can understand the frustration that the council member, Ray Johnson, is going through. And as a taxpayer, I think that will be reasonable. $25,000 is not a small amount of money. We are having a lot of developments that are coming in. People are moving in. We have a lot of things that you have to upgrade to catch up, like the sewer line and all that stuff. So I think for the sake of being responsible, you know, city staff come and go, council come and go, I think $25,000 will be reasonable for the council to be able to approve and say, go ahead, or we need more details about this project. Why are we giving it to only one contractor versus allowing everybody to participate? Thank you.
Ms. Beeson?
Ms. Beeson?
When we have these smaller jobs like that, that is the reason sometimes we only get one bid or sometimes no bid is because of the small jobs. Contractors usually, you know, they have their work and they have to usually, if they can get larger jobs, they're going to take the larger jobs rather than the smaller jobs. So that is why a lot of times we only have the one bid. So.
Well, Mayor, the issue I'm having is using it as a loophole. We had a project here that had to be broken down. I asked a question here, were we aware of this project before? And we were told, yes, if we put everything together, it could have gone through a bid, or it was going to add up into a lot of money. So for me, if that project had been going through this option of $25,000, I think it could have been a very good candidate for that application or bidding process.
What was the project?
The park, we had a park here that we had to add something to it that we had to approve the second time for the contractor to go ahead and build. Type A, type B.
But that
Had a
wasn't city
project.
funds, though.
And it's a taxpayer's money. There's something that needs to go to something
It's
that,
sales tax money, I mean, it's.
but it's
you're right.
still taxpayer's money.
Here's the thing, if they wanted to bust it up, it would have been, they'd come to us 4 times if it was 25,000, you know? I mean, we can get in the weeds on this and debate this until we're blue in the face. Is it a problem as you see it, city manager?
I mean, we're following chapter 271 of the Texas
Yeah.
Local Government Code.
I'd like to make a
It's
motion.
really up to y'all. You know, we could do either way. Where it becomes a problem is if you did have some kind of issue that you needed to fix rather quickly, you have to wait for the next council meeting, which means getting it on the agenda at the proper timing, et cetera, et cetera. That's the downside. You know, again, the upside is like Mr. Johnson's saying, there's more
Well, there's
oversight in that.
but there was a lot of things going on different. I mean, I agree that you're here, and I see things that you do, and I appreciate it. Don't think I don't. It's like me and you talked about over there, just to bring it up. I'm not trying to base you out or bring you up in front. But we talked about that park, spending all that money. Same thing you said, it would have never happened. So, you know, if they want to leave it like that, since you're here, I believe things will be right. That's the way I feel about it. I mean, I see how you do things, and I do appreciate what you do.
Well, appreciate it. We'll follow whatever policy you give us. So.
Mr. Smith, you have not turned out a yellow card, council. Do I have a consensus to let him speak without a yellow card?
Let him speak.
Thank you, everybody. I wanted to address Troy Smith, 310 Woodlawn. I wanted to address what Mr. Gutwa is referring to, because I'm on the Type B board, is we did approve to have the basketball court put in, which cost X amount of dollars. I think it was 60,000, somewhere in there. And then once it started going in, we realized that we wanted to do extra, so it wasn't to try to get underneath that umbrella of the 50,000 or anything. It was hey, maybe we should do some sort of seating, do another pad of concrete and make make a sidewalk to connect, so that way people aren't walking through games. So that's what you're referring to, and so it was two separate conversations that did not have anything to do with trying to hide or do anything of that nature. But I do want to mention what Mr. Batla was saying in the initial conversation, which is most of everything is already a budgeted item, so there's no hidden agenda when it comes to this $50,000 cap. So anything less than that, if it's a budgeted item, it's gonna happen anyway regardless, because it's just something that was already in the budget. Last year, we had the same incidents where they wanted to spend $40,000 to fix the fire truck. That cost $40,000, remember that? So that was not a budgeted item, so of course it needs to come to council because it wasn't on the budget. So things that are on the budget that are less than 50,000 usually get rolled right through. Things that aren't is what causes you guys to come here and make good decisions on those things. So, but that's what I'm thinking.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Mayor, if you want a motion on this, I'll just make a motion to deny reducing the fiduciary threshold for multiple bid requirements to 25,000.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor to deny reducing the fiduciary threshold for multiple bid requirements to 25,000 by Foster, and a second by Beeson. Any further discussion on the motion?
I have a discussion, but it's just gonna, I'm just going to respond to Troy Smith. I brought that point based on the response that we got from city staff. So you might have a different viewpoint on it, but I'm just responding based on if you go online and watch the live stream, the response we got is based on how I was able to respond to that. So it's not according to how you have explained it to me. Thank you.
All in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? The motion is carried, 4-2. Gua and Johnson against. Agenda item number 7D, discussion and take possible action on requiring the police chief in executive session. Mr. Foster, I believe you are the one that asked for this agenda item. Would you like to open up the discussion?
Well, I just think it's a really bad optics for those who are live streaming when the mayor has to accompany the six of us. I mean, the police chief has to accompany us into executive session. There's no need for it, and I personally like to see it stopped.
Yes, Ms. Beeson?
Lisa, I'm going to quote you. It's fixing to be all about me. I play a good victim. I have a sad tale. And I have copies for everybody. It's from your discussion on the Pink Ladies. And I really do not feel like that we should use our police chief as a political pawn.
Thank you, Ms. Beeson.
Also feel like we should leave the police chief out here with the public in case there's something untoward happens out here. There's much more likely to be a disturbance out here than there is back there in closed session.
But I think it's, Lisa, that too, I mean, we got him back there with us, then we got him hanging out, patrolling around the police, around the here, while they should be out there doing their job. Riding around here, it's not helping the city none. I mean, you got the city manager back there with you.
And isn't Councilman Bell's a pretty big guy?
Would the mayor like to explain why she feels like she needs protection?
If you look at what the Sergeant of Arms does, Council, what duties do you feel the Sergeant of Arms does here in this room? What is his job?
keep.
Is that the chief?
Yeah. Right now, the chief is our acting sergeant of arms. What duties does he perform when he comes to these meetings?
To make sure everybody's safe in here.
Okay?
Okay, but the back room, how does he feel safe out here with the people?
Okay, so
He
if he,
doesn't feel safe out here. He feels, he's got to have officers to ride his police department.
if he's in this room to try to make this group feel safe, how does his duties change when he goes into another room?
Right now, we thank God that nothing happens. I mean, but if it does, what happens? He's going to have
Were
to
you talking
call his
about out
buddy
here?
outside?
So you think it's more dangerous out here, he needs to be out here?
Dangerous, it's not dangerous back in the back.
I'm asking you how his duties change. If he's out here to provide order and to keep everybody safe, how do his duties change when he leaves this room and walks into another room?
Because what if something
Mayor?
that happened out?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the executive session is not open to the public. It's closed. It's just us seven and whoever we invite in on
Understand.
topics. This is open to the public. This is where the sergeant at arms is needed. It's where the public is, not where the 7 council people are, persons. Thank you.
So the sergeant of arms provides safety out here and order, and his duties are the same whether he's in this room or whether he's in executive session room. His pay doesn't change, his duties don't change, and his hours don't change. He's still assigned this task, unfortunately, being here at our meetings, which sometimes have been long. I could sit here and I could explain for the next 45 minutes why I made this request originally, and believe me, I have a list of reasons,
Please do.
but
You told us last week you would tell us why and who.
I want to speak right now to what KES is doing. Keene Adventist Elementary School is doing a fundraiser called Raise Craze. They are spreading love and kindness in the community to raise money for playground equipment. They are wearing shirts that say, "Learn, grow, serve." They're giving out free hugs. They're putting up signs thanking people, like the mailman, giving out free snacks. And we could all learn a lesson from them. I could sit here like for the next 45 minutes and I could tell you why I need security and executive, but that's not spreading love and kindness. Or I could simply just tell you I need security and executive to effectively do my job. And you all could just simply give it to me because you care and because you have respect for me as a mayor. At the end of the day, that's what matters, whether you care or not. Whether you care about me and my right to ask for it, whether you care about me doing my job, what the voters elected me to do. If my hearing disability, and we all know I have one, and if it required an interpreter, would you provide an interpreter if we went into executive? Or would you say, we'll allow your interpreter in open session, but in executive, you're on your own? I'm telling this council, in order to carry out my duties as a presiding officer in an orderly and effective way, that I require the sergeant of arms and executive. Otherwise, I can't do the job the voters elected me to do to the best of my ability.
Then, Mayor, maybe you should resign.
So again, yes, sir, Mr. Foster, go ahead.
Mayor, do you respect your council members?
Yes, sir, I do.
Then can you please explain to me why I received an open records request for the note that was passed between Gwen Beeson and I at our last council meeting?
Because I saw a note being passed between you, and I just wanted to know what it was.
And what was it? Tell everybody what it was.
You stated that it was a copy of the agenda. You were passing him how to read the motion to go ahead and end the discussion on the rules of order, procedure, and call for a motion.
Because Mr. Foster he was pushed, we were all kind of pushed around last
Okay.
council because the attorney sat beside you for 4 hours. And he didn't end up with a red letter agenda. So he asked me, he said, could I see your agenda so I could read the motion? And we did that twice. And so that's why you got the copy of my
Okay.
agenda sheet, is
And I thank
because
you.
that was the note that was passed.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I would think that if you respected your council members, you would ask us face to face what was going on, rather than make me and Gwen come up here and state our case for why we asked to look at an agenda. Mayor, that's petty. That's making a mountain out of a molehill.
You do
That's just,
realize-
hang on, I still have the floor. The same thing as your request for security back in chambers. You've taken something that was said in passing and blown it up to a threat to you personally, just like this little agenda item between Gwen and I see it as grandstanding, and I see it as a political ploy, and frankly, it really embarrasses the city.
You do realize everything that we do in this room is subject to open records request. I'm subject to open records request. Mr. Gutwa's videos have been subject to open records request. My notes have been requested. Everything we do is requested. So there was nothing wrong with my request.
The part that was wrong was none of the public asked for that note. Not one, but yet we were both here in the room. You could have come up to us afterwards and said, what was the note? Oh, it's nothing. Or I could have said, you know what? I wrote a note saying it was time to stop this nonsense, but I didn't do that. All I did was ask for the agenda. It wouldn't have mattered. I'd have given you the note. Just ask us face to face.
Last week, we did rules of order and procedure, and I had a PowerPoint presentation, and you cut me off, and you didn't let me finish, and then you asked for that in an open records request to Ms. Russell. You asked for a copy of mine. It's the same thing.
No, Mayor. I wanted to read see the rest of your PowerPoint presentation to see what, maybe we missed something in there. I was giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly. That's all
Not
we're doing here.
exactly.
Yeah.
Not when do you not see the difference? Do I need to draw you a picture? I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you had some benefit to give the council, and you're saying, Mr. Foster, you're second grade, I want to read your note.
Mayor, while Gillen is coming, Mayor, I know Councilmember Rob Foster, I know how you're feeling. How do you think I feel when Councilmember Bells here requests for information from me every single time we come here, most of the time, especially my videos?
Because
it's an open record, so I don't feel bad. If I have something that's open, I'll give it to you. So I don't know why that should be a big deal. You haven't seen me mad or complaining that Bells is asking for my videos instead of the city videos.
Oh, I think we can open up that can of worms if we had all night.
No, you're saying the mayor is asking for using the right as an open record, and you are saying that's not good. It feels really bad.
I'm saying the mayor is paranoid that there's a note being passed that's detrimental in some way. Otherwise, why would she want to see the note?
Yes, Ms. Beeson?
I would like to be explained this playing the victim. How often do you play the victim? Do you feel like you have to play the victim all the time? Is that your nature? Is that your personality?
Ms. Beeson, you're reading something from a post that was written in a private group page over a year and a half ago.
I
can't
know.
explain what I wrote and why I wrote it, and if those are even my words.
Yes, they are. Trust me, they are.
Messages can be manipulated.
Mayor, did you turn over your notes that were asked for in public record recently?
I'm sorry, couldn't hear you.
Did you turn over your handwritten records that were asked for in public
I fulfilled the
information?
open records request, yes, sir.
You fulfilled it in what way?
I fulfilled it by answering the question that was requested of me.
And what
yes,
was
sir.
your answer?
I do not have any records responsive to the request of what was asked of me.
So
Yes.
you didn't turn anything over?
That's what I turned over.
That's a yes or no question.
No, I did. That's what I turned over. That was my response.
No, you
I
didn't,
followed the
or no,
law.
yes, you did.
I followed the law, and I answered the question.
So you didn't turn anything over?
I followed the law, and I answered the question.
So you didn't turn anything over?
My summary council, 5 council members have expressed hostility toward me, both privately and publicly. 4 council members publicly said they don't trust me on 2 occasions. At least 2 council members have followed me to my car. 1 council member has said he's going to get me and kick my ass. 1 council member posted to treat me like a serial killer. 1 council member slandered me publicly and attacked me verbally in executive session with name-calling and finger-wagging. I've endured 42 attacks during public meetings since July of 2023 by members of the public, board members, spouses of council members, and council. And if you want me to read thy notes, I can, but I did request on 3 different occasions for acts of security.
Mayor, I have a
Are
question
these
to ask.
truthful, or is this some more of your playing the victim?
Mayor, I have a question to ask you. You told me last Thursday, you said me was threatening to tell you that. It's like I asked you, bring these people to me, where they getting ever said anything about kicking your ass? It's false. I would never, ever in my life speak to a lady about, now a man, I'll tell you how I tell them. I'll talk to them, they're a fool. But you or any lady can never say I've threatened them. In the reality of life, that's one thing anybody that knows me know. I won't threaten a lady, but I'll threaten a man quick. That's me. That's all I'm gonna say from that point. I ain't never threatened you, never would threaten you. I just sit here and tell you I would take up over any of the guys over you. But you know, you wanna act like that with me, and I'll tell any of them how I feel. You need to talk to them, but they don't wanna talk to you because they call you a liar.
Mayor? Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I've never called you any names, and I've never insulted you publicly or privately. So I'm not sure where you got this concept.
I brought it up at a previous meeting.
And I
Post
discussed-
that you wrote, yes, sir.
And I discussed that with you, and you misinterpreted the meaning of my post. Holistically, completely misinterpreted the meaning. It had nothing to do with you. Nothing. Thank you.
I make a motion to deny requiring the police chief in executive session.
I'll second that. Second.
We have a motion on the floor to deny requiring the police chief in executive session by Beeson and a second by Foster. Any further discussion on the motion? I'm sorry, I've already taken the motion. I didn't see her. Any further discussion? The discussion now just takes place amongst council since I have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion is carried. Gutwa against. Agenda item number 7E, discuss and take possible action on the appointment of members to the Keene Economic Development Corporation Type A Board.
Hello again, Mayor and Council. Keene Economic Development Corporation Type A Board recommends council reappointing board member Samantha Gillen for another term. Staff recommends City Council consider the Type A EDC Board's recommendation and appointment Samantha Gillen for another term. The Type A EDC Board members voted unanimously to recommend Samantha Gillen to be reappointed. And in the packet, you should have her application.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Samantha Gillen to the Keene Economic Development Corporation Type A Board.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the appointment of member, I guess we're going to say the name. Did you say the name, or are we just saying Samantha
I
Gillen?
said Samantha Gillen.
Okay.
yes.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the appointment of Samantha Gillen to the Keene Economic Development Corporation Type A Board by Foster and a second by Easley. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. Motion is carried. Agenda item number 7F, discuss and take possible action on the appointment of members to the Keene Business Development Corporation Type B Board.
The Keene Business Development Corporation Type B Board has 4 terms that expire in March 2024. Donnie Beeson, Daniel Gathings, who was just appointed recently, Aaron Moses, and Troy Smith. Type B Board made a recommendation to council reappointing board members Donnie Beeson, Daniel Gathings, and new member Gary Heinrich for terms beginning in March of 2024. Staff and B Board recommend City Council consider the recommendation and reappointments of Donnie Beeson, Daniel Gathings, and new member Gary Heinrich for a 2-year term. The Type B, it should say EDC, board members voted unanimously on both recommendations, and you should have their applications in your packet as well.
Any questions for Mr. Martin?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of those three members as read to the Keene Business Development Corporation Type B Board.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the appointment of the members Donnie Beeson, Daniel Gathings, and Gary Heinrich to the Keene Business Development Corporation Type B Board by Foster, and a second by Johnson. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? I didn't see you, Mr. Easley. Did you vote? Okay.
Abstaining.
He's abstaining? Okay, and one abstain. Motion is carried. 5-4 and one abstain. Easley? Agenda item number 7G, discuss and take possible action on the appointment of members to the Keene Planning and Zoning Commission.
The Planning and Zoning Commission has two terms expiring in March 2024. Dan Alsop and Gilbert Perez Sr. We received one application for this commission, and that was Troy Smith. Dan Alsop hasn't really expressed his daughter's had some medical reasons why he can't do it anymore. Mr. Perez has moved out of the country temporarily, so neither of those reapplied for that position. The only one we have is Troy Smith, so staff and Planning and Zoning Commission recommends City Council consider the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation to appoint the applicant Troy Smith to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission members voted unanimously to recommend Troy Smith be appointed to one of the two vacancies. And his application should be in there. It wasn't listed on there, but he found out that they needed a position, so he asked to be on that board.
Councilman Slayton has his hand raised. Would you like to make a motion to allow Mr. Slayton to speak without a yellow card?
I just say we just let him speak. We haven't required a motion for anybody else.
Is it regarding this topic?
Mr. Slayton, would you like to step forward?
Concerned citizen, Samantha tried to get up to speak, you shut her down. I'd like to know what's going on.
Steve, if you're going, never mind, I can't say nothing. Go ahead, Mayor.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand any of that.
Mayor, it's referring to Mrs. Gillen not being able to speak about an earlier item. We've already passed that item.
I know, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. I'm sorry, once I called for the motion, I didn't see it.
I'm Stephen Slayton. I have concern, I'm a concerned citizen. I'm worried, I'd like to see Samantha Gillen go up there and speak. I think
Ms.
it's
Gillen, would you like to speak now on this item?
No, not on this item. What I was going to speak about, that's okay.
Speak to what now? Go ahead and step forward.
Samantha Gillen, 218 West 4th Street. Mayor, Council, I love this city, and I have been living here a long time, and I've been through a lot of mayors. And I'm really not going to get into a big, long, drawn-out thing here, but I need more security than you do. And the other thing is, I have a business here, I live here, I love this city, and I don't understand why every council meeting that we have, it's about you and what someone's doing to you. Do you not realize what you're doing to our city? You're killing it. People don't even want to come here because it's got such a bad name. And it makes me sick to my stomach to think that we can't get you to understand. We all care about you. We all want you to do well. But you keep convicting everybody of things they're not doing to you, and you won't work with anybody. And I would love to see that change. I would love to see you be a good mayor. I would love to see you work with council so we can get city business done. My business is here. We can't get anything done with it always being poor you, poor me, poor whatever, and everybody's getting after me. I just want to see our city be better, and you can help that. You have some control. Some of it's bad, but a lot of it's good if you would just use the good rather than the bad. And that's all I wanted to say. Just try harder.
Thank you, Ms. Gillen. Back to the agenda item number 7G, discuss and take possible action on the appointment of Troy Smith to the Keene Planning and Zoning Commission. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the appointment of the members to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Troy Smith.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the appointment of Troy Smith to the Keene Planning and Zoning Commission by Easley and a second by Foster. Any further discussion on the motion?
Troy,
I have
did
a
you raise
question.
your hand? Okay.
Okay, I have a question, Mayor.
We can't do that, man. We can't vote for you like that, sir.
I have a question. I know a few years ago, we started a process, and I'm not speaking because the candidate that we are, the motion that is on the floor, but I'm asking regarding the application. I know there's recommendation, which is a good thing, but there is an application which is online, and we did kind of recommend to advertise some of these positions to give time so that the public can be able to participate. So I don't know if that process is going on or...
It is, yes, we have that on application online. I believe we put it on our, I believe we've advertised it on our city Facebook page. I'll have to confirm that.
Oh, okay. If the advertisement is going on, that's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was advertised 30, 40 days prior to these terms all expiring in March, and I recommend that we just keep it open all the time so they can apply it at any time and we can have those on record. That way, if a spot does come open, we're not having to wait 3, 4 months to fill a position that's needed.
Okay, thank you.
Troy's got something to say, Lisa.
Are all the other boards full, Mr. Bala, but this one's going to have one vacancy? Did we fill up A and B?
No.
I believe with tonight, we filled.
A board's gonna be short one,
A board short one?
right? And then P and Z will be short one.
Okay,
We just didn't get any applications in.
okay. All right, council, we have a motion on the floor by Easley and a second by Foster to approve the appointment of Troy Smith to the Keene Planning and Zoning Commission. Any further discussion on this motion? All in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, motion is carried. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before we move into executive, I did have a request just now from
Okay.
Mr. Johnson to conduct item 8B in public.
Oh, okay. Okay, I guess we are ready for executive at this point, aren't we? Okay, agenda item number 8, executive session. Pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code, the city council may convene into executive session at any time during the meeting that a need arises for the city council to seek advice from the city attorney as to any posted item and by the following authority. A, Section 551.074, Personnel Matters, Reorganization of City Staff, and B, Section 551.074, Personnel Matters, receive a report and hold a discussion regarding administrative complaint number 2024-0001 against Ray Johnson. Council, would you like to, since Mr. Johnson has made the request for Executive B to be discussed in open, would you like to discuss that one first before we move into executive?
Leave it up to Mr. Johnson. You want to go first or you want a second?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, then, I can't, I'm sorry.
Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go second.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and convene into executive
Well,
session.
I'd like to see us do it first. We're still in open session. Let's do
Yeah.
it while we're here, and then
That's fine.
Then let's take a motion. Who would like to make a motion that we do executive item A8B first?
I'll make a motion to do executive item 8B first.
A second on that? Bells?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand to do it first. Those opposed? Did you, 4? Okay. So Beeson, Easley, Foster, and Bells were 4,
Abstain.
and they're abstaining. Okay, motion is carried. All right, so we're going to do executive item number 8B right now and open. Personnel Matters, receive a report and hold a discussion regarding administrative complaint number 2024-001 against Ray Johnson. Are you going to speak to this, Mr. Bala?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Received a written complaint against actions against Councilman Ray Johnson. I asked the attorney what to do with it, and basically, y'all are my bosses, so I'm not the disciplinarian or anything. And he said the appropriate thing to do would be to bring it to council and executive, bring the complaint forward, and follow our rules of procedure and order. So I'll pass this around. So, Mayor, for the record, I did go over this with Mr. Johnson, so he wasn't blindsided.
Okay.
So he has been made aware of
Could
it.
have hit it if you want, it wouldn't have mattered.
Do we have a copy of this tape as indicated in this letter to show to council?
Oh, we do not, but we could probably pull the video. I mean, it is on record. We could pull it, yes. The camera would not have captured very far after Councilman Johnson left the dais up here.
So I'm confused in this letter. It says we're to review it at the next council meeting on January 25th, which is already passed. This letter was written on February 12th. Those dates don't line up. Am I reading that incorrectly?
If I understand it correctly, I believe the complaint was filed earlier and then just resent to us.
That's correct, yeah. This is a complaint from a little bit ago. This one slipped through the cracks a little bit. It was resent to us, so then I...
Okay, I understand. Do we know the date that this incident occurred? That's not listed on here.
Under the subject, January 4,
Oh, in the subject.
under the subject at the second line at the top.
Okay, I expected it to be in the body. Okay.
All right, council, I just want to go ahead and read from you from the code of conduct that we just passed at the last meeting, that complaints against officers, all complaints or allegations of a violation of this code of conduct against an officer shall be made in writing on a form provided by the city, sworn to before a public notary, or notary public, and filed of record with the city secretary. Such complaint shall describe in detail the act or acts complained of and the specific sections of this code of conduct alleged to have been violated. A general complaint lacking in detail shall not be sufficient to invoke the investigation procedures contained herein. At that point, I think I can stop. So I think we can say that while this is a complaint, that this is a complaint under a general nature, and therefore, council can decide not to proceed at this point with any further investigation. You can just have a discussion.
But that code of conduct was passed after this incident.
It was passed
So-
at the last meeting.
Right, but the incident happened prior to the passing of the code of conduct, so you have to follow the previous code of conduct, because that's when the action took place.
I don't believe so. I don't think it was grandfathered in.
So our new code of conduct's retroactive?
I thought he said that it was within your notice, as long as you had to, we had to act on it within, I thought it was 6 weeks or 6 months. What was it you said, Mr. Foster?
I thought that was the timetable of making the complaint. But see, we just passed this last week. Now we're trying to enforce it retroactively 6 months, 6 weeks prior.
We can consult with the attorney and get their opinion on this, on doing that.
Well, there's no sense going to the attorney because it's the council's decision either way you go. So it's up to council what we do.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I don't think anything we pass now is retroactive, because if it is, there are some certain people up here in the middle of this dais that might not be happy with us going back.
I'm just reading to you guys from the code of conduct. So like I said, at this point, I don't think it's the timetable of when the complaint was done, other than when it's submitted. But again, we can instruct the complainant to file it in the proper procedure under our new code of conduct. I don't know
Mayor,
if we have a paper to supply.
Mayor, if a law is passed in our land, you don't go back and pick up before.
Okay,
If it's passed later, it doesn't affect what happened before. So I would suggest, and I'll ask Councilman Johnson, first of all, I'd like to say a little bit. He's very excited about his job and what he does. He is all in for this city. Does he agree with everybody? No. Do all of us agree with everybody? No. But he's all in. This man is all the way up to this neck involved in this city. And he's passionate about it. And did his temper get him a little bit? Maybe so. Maybe it gets all of us at times. But may I suggest to him that you make a formal public apology now if you choose to move forward?
After I did what I did, I went out there and apologized to this gentleman. Straight after I did it. Everybody in here seen it. The thing I'm agree with, and whatever happens here tonight, I'll tell you, if the man ever talks to me the way he talks to us, it's not going to happen like that. I will not let nobody disrespect me on this floor here. I will not. She doesn't like it. I don't like it. He comes and takes up for the mayor and don't know a thing he's talking about. He lies just like she does. Sit here and accuse every one of us for doing her wrong. This girl right here, I took up for 6 months with all you council people. I can't even believe you talked to me the way I talked to you guys over her. And that's all I have to say, man. It's sad that we got people to come to our council, and make a scene about her. He doesn't know a thing but what they tell him. That's all I have to say. And Dan Roberts could be his buddy still, too. He got something he wants to say.
yes, Mr. Chapman, go ahead and step forward.
I would like to point out to you that I've been looking at this town for 2 years I've lived here.
We're going to need you to come forward.
Yeah, if you'll come to the podium, Mr. Chapman.
Bob Chapman, 529 Molly Lane. I've been watching everybody on television for 2 years. I've been watching everything. It wasn't just deciding to come here once in a while and take a look and see what I see. It's been very consistent. So I don't appreciate you saying that I don't know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, which is not accurate at all, okay? Not accurate at all. So when you know something and you want to say it, then say it if you know it.
Okay, how many times you come here to this council? I only seen you here maybe four times. When you was running,
5 and 6.
you had people who helping you. That's why you here taking up for
I
them,
had
something
people
you
what?
don't even know. And I'm gonna tell you right now,
I had people
you
what?
lied right there on that floor when you said, this gentleman, all of us jumped on her. That's not true.
Let him speak.
It happens every time. It's disrespectful to her. Why can't you just let her be a woman, the mayor she was voted to be in? Just let her do her job.
I vote her in.
That's all you got. Great. So why don't you just let her do her job instead of put her down? Why do you treat a woman like that? That's just unbelievably disrespectful. Any of you, all of you that do it, are just disrespectful.
Who treated her?
That's why you're being brought up to this right now. You know it?
That's
Because
fine.
you were disrespectful to me.
That's fine, but that's not true. I would disrespect you. You would diss me first. And
I
I'll
didn't do
tell
anything
you right
to
in
you.
front of council.
You apparently had.
You will not
I
talk
remember
to me
the
the
first
way
day I
you
ever
want.
came here and put an application in, you looked at me like you thought you were better than I was. That was the very first time I ever saw you.
Sir, I have nothing else to say to
You've been
you.
looking at me, buddy, for a lot longer than that, okay? Well, I had a purpose in this. The purpose was to say, don't bully people. You don't bully people, okay? I see it from you all the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Do we want to continue to let people speak, council?
Jen Baggett, 200 Pine.
Okay, Ms. Jen Baggett, I hadn't actually given you permission to speak yet. I was speaking to a fellow council member. Council, would you like to hear Ms. Baggett speak? I would like a motion. I would like a motion to let Ms. Baggett speak.
We haven't had a motion all night.
I've been asking motions when they come up without a yellow card. Give me a motion. Go ahead, Ms. Baggett.
I have a whole bag in my car if you want to talk about, you brought up hugs and kisses and schmooze and whatever. I got a bag of stuff this man allowed on his page of just one person that you were okay with and he was okay with. Number two, most of the city will agree with what he just said and did. He is a little excitable. As somebody who has gone a few rounds with him, I stand behind him, and he was a plant by you and Mr. Roberts, period, end of story. You came up to me the second time you came to a meeting and said, thank y'all for your support and all the great things you said about me. Lie. I never said one great thing about you, and neither did he. So get a clue, you're dismissed. Lastly, Keene is a great city, and I want to give a quick shout out to these two right here for working hard for our city with no accolades, no applause. I've really enjoyed volunteering side by side with you guys, and I'm going to give you the accolades. I can't give you a proclamation or a key, but good job, guys, for all the hard work you do quietly for our town. We need more of you guys like that. And Mr. Easley, too, for helping people when they get stuck out there. No accolades necessary. Mr. Johnson, same. Mr. Bell, same. This is a great town. Hopefully the circus show will end sooner than later. But just know, more of us are for y'all than against. This was obscene. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baggett. All right, council, this was just to receive a report and hold a discussion. Any further discussion on this agenda item? Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to agenda item number 8A. Under the procedures of order and that we adopted last week, this is about a personnel matter, reorganization of city staff. I need the council to tell me who they would like to permit into the bathroom, because under our orders, it says that the only people that are allowed is the city council members. So council, I need a motion if you would like the city manager to come into the executive session room, because that's not permitted unless you make a motion. I know. That's what it says. It says that you may allow or you may exclude, so I need to know who you're allowing and who you're excluding, because right now, only the city council members can go back into executive session.
Mayor? Hey, Mayor. I think we need to let him come back here for protection for you where nothing happens.
Okay, we're going into executive session at 7:50 PM. I'm going to reconvene the council back into session. It's 8:06 PM.
There's going to be, want me to speak, Mayor?
Go ahead, sir.
There's going to be no executive there's no action on executive section.
Thank you, sir. I was just getting ready to ask you that. Agenda item number 10, request for future items on the agenda. Council? Do you have anything you would like to add to the next meeting? All right, if there's no further business, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 8:07 PM.
Do
Meeting
we
is
need a
adjourned.
motion to adjourn?
There is not a motion called for in our rules of order and procedure. It does
There
not-
wasn't?
No, it has a definition of what a motion to adjourn is, but does not say that we have to do it.
Okay.
Would you like to make a motion? No, that's fine. Okay. Council is adjourned. It's 8:07 PM.